and welcome back to Yorkshire Railway and welcome back to another model railway review. So today is going to be a little bit different. We are actually looking at this, which is a steam locomotive, and we're looking at this train pack, which is the Aberdonian train pack. So I purchased this brand new. It's actually only been out a couple of years. It came out in 2020, and I purchased this in early 2021. I think it was about February. So not been out too long, a couple of months. And yeah, I really wanted it for the locomotive, and I thought, oh great, a train pack that comes with the locomotive that I want, as well as a few coaches. So I thought, perfect bundle, I'll pick one of these up. And I got mine that was heavily discounted from the full RRP at the time, which was £180, and I think I paid £130 from Amazon, which I know is a bit of a controversial topic. Obviously Amazon is putting a lot of businesses out of business, but at the same time, a lot of people do sell on Amazon, and at the moment and the way things are going, you've got to go for where the price is right, and definitely, I think that it's hard to turn up a price when you're paying that compared to the full RRP, which staggeringly now has gone up even more. And this set isn't even listed anymore on Hornby.com, which is, from all I can see anyway. I've tried looking for it and I can't find it anywhere on Hornby.com. But you can still pick it up in the retailers for a staggering £210, which I think is just absolutely insane. So I'm going to review it in the mind of obviously what you as the consumers will have to pay for this, as well as obviously the fact in what I paid for it, and is it worth the money for what I have paid, which I think it was about £140. I can't remember, is it too long ago now to remember, but yeah, it is a lot of money, and we're going to find out, is it worth it, because the new RRP of 200 is just ludicrous to me for a train pack. So yeah, let's find out. So taking a quick look at the packaging, obviously really nice on the front. You get a really good look at the loco, and on the side here you can see the loco with the coaches in the order in which they should be run, with the first class, the second, and the brake. And then flipping it over, we can see if you're wanting to buy the set for yourself, it is set number R3828, the Aberdonian train pack. So yeah, just in case you're wanting to pick this set up for yourself, that is what you need to look for. So let's take a look at what is inside the box itself. So as I say, really nice packaging on the front, and as I previously stated, I have owned this set for a couple of years, so I have run it, but I've very kindly, for your viewing pleasure, repackaged it as if it is brand new, straight from being shipped to my house. So here is the packaging. You can see it is in the sort of like egg box packaging, which I really like for one. I think it's a lot better than the polystyrene. I think it's absolutely, perfect for protecting the models. It's well encased. If it's good enough for shipping eggs in, it's absolutely fine for plastic models. However, the locomotive has been put in the block of ice, which states, yeah, there is a little bit more finer detail, but they also want to make sure that your locomotive gets to you in one piece. So it's that little bit of extra security. So I think that's absolutely amazing. So anyway, we'll start getting the models out, and which shall we start with? I think we'll start with the coaches, seeing as they're already like partially unwrapped. So here is the brake. As you can see, really nice detail on the packaging. SRPS, which is the Scottish Railway Preservation Society Rail Tours. So that is the coach set that runs with this, and these basically do the rail tour that you can run on, known as the Aberdonian. So that's a nice feature. Even though it is a BR coach, it's obviously been rebranded as the um, Scottish Preservation Society rail tours, which is really nice. And obviously, you've got the running numbers on there. Really nice sort of painting on the bogies as well, just to give it the coaches a little bit of an extra flair. Obviously, a little bit disappointed the underside is very, very plasticky, but there is a nice little bit of detail. And you do get metal wheels with these as well, which is quite nice. They run very smoothly. And it does come with NEM pocket couplings on the side. Now we're going to take a look at the second class. So again, very similar, really nice lettering on the front, the sort of nice gold stripe down the middle, again painted on the bogies. Forgot to show the end of the brake, but they do have a little bit of lettering and signage on the ends of the coach, so that's nice to see. The end corridor is not rubber, it is plastic, so it's not like the LNER one. You are just getting plastic coaches. So and there is minor detail in the form of seating and tables on the inside, which is still quite nice to see, even though there's no passengers, but you could always take the roof off and fit your own passengers if you wish. And then we're on to the first class, which is obviously indicated by this really nice gold banding. And I'm not too sure if you can read this, but there is some stickering on the windows, which is really nice to see. I believe it just says first class, but I can't really make it out. But you can let me know if you can read it at home and pop it in the comments if you believe that's what it says. But I'm pretty sure it just says first class on there. Obviously flipping it over, we've got the same sort of painted bogies, but yeah, the first class has just got that little bit of an extra flair to it, I think, a little bit more well decorated, and nice to see some printed decorations on the glazed windows as well. And again, bit better look at the signage on the end of the corridors. Right, let's get the locomotive out. Again, like I said, really nice to see that it's come in the block of ice, which I think definitely helps protect the locomotive just that little bit more. And I think that's what you really want, is the locomotive should be in the block of ice, and the coaches are absolutely fine just being in the egg crate box. So detail pack, we've got the brake rigging and some pipe work there, but we've also got some etched nameplates. So here, as you can see, is the Tornado, as well as the Aberdonian front nameplates put on the locomotive, which is great to see. Nice to see some metal etched nameplates. And just taking the locomotive out. Have to be really careful, and we'll have a better look at the locomotive itself. Now, a little bit disappointing is that the tender and the locomotive are separate. So all your DCC decoder sockets and everything are going to be inside the locomotive itself. As you can see from the tender, it is just plastic. There is no metal work on here. It is very light, but again, livery very well placed. Metal buffers, but they're not sprung. You have the NEM pocket as well as the chain coupling rod connector on there. Some nice signage on the back, as well as the separately painted lamps, and yeah, really nice detail on the end of the tender there. Really enjoy that. Looks fantastic. Let's get British Railways. Really nice livery on there. Fake plastic coal load, but as with most Hornby models, it is removable if you want to put a real coal load in there. And I mean, look at that detail on there. There's separately painted gauges, lots of signs. The detail on there is absolutely fantastic. And I can see now why they haven't put any like the decoder or anything in the back of here, maybe just to focus on making it more detailed. But I don't see how that really can affect it too much. If anyone has any details as to why that could be, drop it down in the comments down below. But to me, I still think that the DCC socket could be in the tender, and especially more room for the speakers in there. Um, but yeah, I'm very impressed with the detail on there. Absolutely very nice. And then we come to the locomotive itself. So the locomotive is very heavy, which is great because obviously you're getting the motor and everything is inside here. It means you can have no problem with traction whatsoever. So there is the running number 60163, the Tornado, and you've got the builder's plate and everything on there. And yeah, judging by the weight as well as the feel, because it is getting into winter now up in the loft, but it is a bit cold. But the floor of this is very cold, so it's definitely a die-cast floor. Inside the cab there, a bit disappointed there is no painted detail in there. Definitely moulded detail, but it's not painted, which I find very strange considering the tender was so well painted. Yeah, I just can't figure out why none of that is painted. I mean, that just lets it down, really, I think. Yeah, you got the little vents on the top, but there is no shutters like on most models, so they're just all fitted as they are. You got the whistles on top, which I'm pretty sure are metal. I don't think they are painted, but the valve gear is it. But yeah, I think it is metal compared to that, which is the whistle, which is plastic, but it's separately painted. Glazing on there, nice to see, but it is just one piece. So don't know if you can see in there, it is just one piece from the inside. So that is a bit of a disappointment. It's not sort of edged out or anything like that. It's a bit of a shame to see. Really nice looking wheels, really well painted. You can see the separately painted red lining on the floor, which is great to see. Bogey's very nice. Even the steps are part of the chassis, which is all die cast, so it's all metal. So yeah, you're not going to be breaking those off at all. Separately painted lamps on the front. I mean, look at that detail on the front. That is fantastic. Really well done. Again, metal buffers, but they're not sprung, which is a bit of a shame, but not a deal breaker in terms of a letdown. Really nice on the Tornado nameplate. Nice chimney as well. Separately painted pipework as well on the side, which is nice to see. But yeah, just a little bit of a disappointment in the actual cab for the locomotive for me. I think why go to all that effort in painting all the valves and the dials on the tender and not on the locomotive itself in the cab? And here you can see I've just found these in the box. These are for if you want to couple the train, they actually hold the whole train with the carriages and the locomotive together. You can change the coupling to a more traditional chain if you wish, which I think is a really nice feature. That's great to see. Moving down to the track, so as you can see, all as a whole, the locomotive looks stunning. Really nice, well painted livery. The I don't know if it's the LNER apple green or the British Railways green, but yeah, it does stand out really nice. It's a very popular locomotive. I'd definitely say to say it's a modern steam locomotive. The Tornado, really popular to go and see on rail tours, as well as a lot of you, as well as myself. The main reason why I wanted this was down to the fact of it appearing in Top Gear, which you remember was Jeremy Clarkson in the Tornado, racing from London to Edinburgh against James May in a Jaguar and Richard Hammond on a Vincent Black Shadow. So yeah, that was the main reason why I wanted the locomotive. I thought, wow, yeah, I really want one of those. Wanted one with the layout, and yeah, it is a stunning locomotive. I think Hornby have done a really really good job with it. I think it's just a letdown about the cab. Um, I just can't get over that. As well as, I do think it's a bit of a letdown that, like, compared to most modern locomotives, especially from Hornby, they have the DCC chip in the tender, as well as, like, obviously that's where you'll have your speaker. So you have a lot more room for it, um, and there's a lot more room for maintenance within the locomotive itself. And I just can't think, especially for paying £180, never mind £200 for a locomotive pack, why are we getting a tender that's not fitted? I mean, to put this into perspective, the Hornby Railroad Mallard and Flying Scotsman both now have their tenders fully attached because they have the wires going underneath that run to the tenders for the DCC chip and speaker. So why is it that this locomotive that came out in 2020 has not got that feature? That is the thing that is bugging me the most, and uh, I would like an answer, Hornby, because I don't see why it is this way. It's not like they've been doing it since, like, this year or last year. They've been doing it for a long time, and to have something that costs so much, it feels like, have I got a railroad model that has been spruced up with some better paintwork and some etched nameplates, sorry, and it's been sold for more. And I don't know if that's a conspiracy theory or the truth, but we'll see. We'll give it its first test, and we'll see how it does when we give it a bit of beans. Now, this has been running. It's been run on the layout numerous times, so it's not going to need any running in. We'll just go straight in to see how is the crawl. Now, as many of you know, I use the Hornby Select controller. I know it's not the best, and I know it's not the most reliable, especially for giving low speeds, but we'll certainly give it a go. So I'm just upping it very, very slowly to see when it is going to be to a point where we can actually get some movement in the loco. Now, it did have a bit of a jolt, and I'm not 100% sure, you might be able to see better than me, is it my eyes thinking it's moving, or is it actually moving? Because I think it's me thinking it's moving that's the thing, but I'm just going to keep upping the dial and we'll see. Oh, there's a bit of a jolt. So yeah, still a bit jolty. We're just going to keep upping it until we can try and get a smooth slow speed. Just going to keep upping the dials until we get to the point where it engages and we have quite a slow speed. But yeah, it's still quite cogging, which isn't a great sign. But again, is that down to the controller or the locomotive? And I'm probably leaning more to the controller. But it does show, different piece of equipment. Why should you have to go out and buy a controller when it comes with the train set? This is what most people would expect, and this is what you will get in terms of performance from a Hornby controller. But yeah, it is quite cogging. I'm having to turn the dial quite far up. I'm at about 30% at the moment, and it's just cogging, but we are getting a little bit more frequent. There we go. So that's about 35%, and we've got a relatively slow speed. It's very smooth, but I won't class it as a crawl. I'd just say that is slow speed. I mean, it's very good, it's very smooth, as you can see, but could that be classed as a crawl? I don't think so. I think that's just slow movement. But yeah, it's very smooth, very, very smooth. And I think it looks absolutely fantastic going at a slow speed. If you've got like a station in your layout and you just want to slowly bring it through, I think it'll look absolutely fantastic as a whole train going through your station at that kind of speed. Yeah, I'm impressed with how slow it actually goes, because usually, since it's been running, I just hook it up to a train and just run it as usual. So I don't really go around testing these because it's on a temporary layout. I just come up here to sort of unwind and just have a bit of a running session. So I never really bother with going at slow speeds. But yeah, I'm quite impressed with how slow it can actually go on the Hornby controller. So yeah, that's definitely a positive. Um, it does look absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? Um, as I said before, I mean the livery looks amazing, and I think as a whole, Steam having all the more intricate detail compared to like diesel locomotives, there is just something about steam locomotives that is just better in a model form. I don't know if you can say better, but there's more interesting features. You know, personally, I love my diesels, but yeah, steam does hold a special place in my heart. But here we have the whole train all hooked up together. So we've got the locomotive, the tornado, uh, hooked up to its coaches, and we'll send it on a little run around the layout. See how it all runs as a whole. See if the coaches do well in terms of performance. Any derailments or anything like that. Obviously, they'll be going over point work, not necessarily through them, but just making sure that there's no cutouts from the locomotive itself, because that's the one thing you get with the tender being connected. Um, Usually, the tender will have pickups as well, so you get a lot more uh, area for pickups, which means that connectively you shouldn't have any issues when running it over point work. But yeah, it's running absolutely fine. I mean, the locomotive is very large, so there's enough place for the pickups to gain power. But yeah, it looks absolutely stunning all running as a whole. Um, Great to see it actually running at a nice steady speed. It's not too fast. It's about 40%, I think, 45%. Not too fast, but just the right amount of speed, I think. As you can see, my track's not nailed down either. It is a temporary layout, so the wires do go under. So it's got a little bit of a bump as it goes over the wires, and the locomotive's faring up absolutely fine. No derailments, running smoothly, looking fantastic, and going at a nice steady speed. Yeah, it's just looking absolutely fantastic. I really need to run more steam locomotives. Lately, I've sort of feel like I've been neglecting them a little bit, and yeah, running the tornado is bringing it back. Really, it's definitely a more nostalgic feel to it, and I think I will start doing a few more steam reviews. So anyway, you probably had enough of me now waffling on about steam locomotives, and it's time for everybody's favourite part, which is the ratings. So this is for the Hornby, the Aberdonian train pack, and we'll start off with the performance. So I've given it 3.75 stars out of 5, and that is mainly down to the fact that the tender isn't connected, um, so it doesn't have any pickups in there. So it's all down to the locomotive itself, which, granted, it does have a large wheelbase, which um, I haven't actually had a look, but I'd imagine it's got all-wheel pickup, which means it can go over points no problem. But I'd say if you've got quite intricate point works in your stations or anything like that, that you may come into some trouble, because it is all down to those three wheels, and if you've got a lot of points in a row, and um, you might say even a bit of dirty track or anything like that, it might cut out, um, and that's going to be a real shame, really. And the fact that we're in, this came out in 2020, and it's only 2022. We're going into 2023, but that the locomotives tender isn't connected for the DCC chip and pin, and the sound in there is very disappointing. And I can't help but bring it back up again. But the railroad version of the Flying Scotsman and the Mallard both have the tender with the chip and for sound. So I don't understand why this isn't. And that brings us on to the detail, which is 3.9 stars out of 5. Um, Again, yeah, it's very nice. The painting and the lining and everything is very well done, but there's part of me that is thinking um, that this is a railroad model that has been repainted and sold as a railways model, which this is what this is. It's a railways model, not a railroad plus. It's a railways, and I think it's a railroad model. Again, obviously the cab isn't painted, which makes no sense when the tender has such intricate painting on it. It makes no sense, and it would explain again why it's not connected to the locomotive because it's a railroad model. Um, and I am leaning on that. And if anyone else feels that way, I'm with you because I think that this has been missold and upped in price for a bit of more intricate painting, which I think is not on Hornby. And I think that answers need to be had and people need to be called out on this because this is not a railways model and is not worth the new RRP of £200. Just sink that in because the coaches again, the coaches are 100% railroad coaches that have been painted slightly and a different livery on them, and they've been shoved into a railway pack, which definitely doesn't sit right with me at all. So that's why it's getting a very, very low start in the starring. Livery wise, I'm giving it 4 stars. Still a great rating. I don't think it's quite worth 5 stars, but the livery is very well applied. There's no paint bleed from what I can see on my locomotive. I do get quality varies in every aspect, but it's great. There's a lot of separately painted parts on the locomotive. The lining's very great. So yeah, giving that 4 stars. Next, we'll move on to the quality, which I'm giving 3.5 stars. And this is mainly down to the fact, it's great at slow speeds, not quite crawling speeds, but definitely it can run very smoothly at, a slow, steady speed. And it's great at running at, normal sort of running speeds as well. Very smooth, stays on the track. There's no derailments or anything like that. Absolutely lovely. The reason it's getting knocked down a fair bit is mainly just for the fact again, the tender doesn't have any pickups in there because it's not attached. Therefore, it's putting that all on the locomotive, and if you've got quite intricate point work and possibly combined with the fact might not have the cleanest of tracks, or there might just be like a spot you might not have noticed where it's a little bit dirty or it's hard to get to, so you don't clean it very often. And there is going to come a point where the locomotive will start cutting out. And I think that is a shame. If it had the tender connected with the pickups in it, like most tender engines do, I think it'd have no issue whatsoever of being a better performer. But that is what is letting this down. So next we're moving on to value, which I've given 3.75 stars. And yeah, it's not quite getting 4 stars, but it also isn't getting 3.5 stars. And this is down to the fact I've taken into account what I've paid for it, as well as what is available out there on the internet. And it's full RRP. So, yes, I don't think it is worth the full RRP. And I do think that I got a fairly decent price at 130, £40, whichever it was. I think that is absolutely fine. £130, get the locomotive and 3 coaches, I think that is absolutely fine. I think that is very good value for money, especially when you take into account that I think this is a railroad, if you're going to slightly push it, a railroad plus model. I don't think this is a railways model as it is being marketed and sold as. I don't think that is the case. I think that they have taken this railroad model, painted it up a little bit, which would make it a railroad plus model because it's more detailed, and slapped a railway sticker on it and thought, yeah, let's try and squeeze every inch of money we possibly can out of our customers, which I think is absolutely horrendous. My thoughts on Hornby was always, Hornby are where you go for model railways. They are good on budget, they make very good detailed models, and they run very well. And that has always been my opinion on Hornby ever since I was growing up. And it was always, if you want something that's got all the bells and whistles and you have the budget for it and you want to pay for super detailed, then you get a Bachmann locomotive. And that is just how I've always been brought up, and it's how I've always viewed Hornby as a company. But when they do something like this, it's like them sticking 2 fingers and laughing at you. It's just not on, and I think that Hornby need to be called out on when they do something like this, because this is not a railways locomotive, and I'm not going to be told by Hornby that it is, because it's just not. It hasn't got the features nor the performance of a railways locomotive, and I've got some railways locomotives, and they perform a lot better and are a lot more detailed. So I just don't think it is. I think it's a railroad plus model, which is fine if you're going to market it as that, but don't market it as a railways model and slap a hefty price tag on it, because there's no wonder it's not on Hornby.com anymore, because I should imagine they're embarrassed about it. And rightly so. They should be embarrassed about charging £200 for a railroad locomotive. But I'm going to stop there, because I will just end up on an endless rant, and this video will go on for hours because I'm that angry about it. So anyway, we're going to move on to the overall rating, which is 3.78 stars out of 5. I think that has slightly been boosted up by the livery and the detail being maybe a little bit higher. But we'll not get into the rant again, otherwise this video will just never ever end, and I'll be here forever recording. So yeah, the rating is 3.78 stars out of 5. Let me know what you think. Do you think I have been a little bit harsh or a little bit lenient on the Aberdonian train pack? And if you do have an opinion on that, drop it in the comments down below. Love to hear from everyone out there, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care everyone, and goodbye.